Do you ever wonder if you're in some kind of an experiment? It's going to be pretty easy for the people that live in the line in Saudi Arabia when it's constructed to know for a fact that they are in an experiment. The original people that go in will. The people that come afterwards, like 5 generations in, they may not know the difference. There'll be stories about it, but they won't know about life outside of the line, before the line. But all of us can look at the line and say, yep, that's an enclosed system, because we could see it. You could physically see the line. However, we can't see the line that we are in, the big gigantic building that we are in, the big machine that we are in, that we can't see the boundaries for. We have maps that tell us there's boundaries, tell us that there's various terrains. We have explorers that have described to us the areas they've been to. We've had National Geographic show us photographs of these areas. We even have NASA showing us the shape of our planet and telling us that there's a big, vast universe out there. Now, before we get into that, a lot of AI I became aware of this week. It's a new kind of an emotion. It's not humbling. It's not fear. I don't know what you call the emotion I'm having from seeing it all. I'm not showing you ChatGPT yet. I might do that in this video, but I want to show you first Tome. And I don't know if you know about Tome, but basically it'll generate like a PowerPoint for you based on a sentence. I should have done this process from scratch, but basically, just like ChatGPT, when you see it, there's a field where you could type in what you want. So I said, make me a presentation for the line in Saudi Arabia. So it generated this project called The Line in Saudi Arabia, A Tale of Cyberpunk. I don't know if this exists somewhere and they're just plagiarizing it, or if it genuinely created this whole thing and generated all this artwork. But let's just take a look at it real quick. The Line in Saudi Arabia, A Tale of Cyberpunk. Exploring the line, impact of the line, sustainable features of the line, economy, culture, the future. So it generated all of this within seconds. I mean, it took about 30 seconds to create this. All right, now look at this. This picture is amazing. And supposedly this picture was generated by AI art. Exploring the line. The line is a proposed city development in Saudi Arabia that seeks to create a sustainable car-free community. The line will be the world's first zero-carbon city, boasting an abundance of green spaces and modern infrastructure. And what a cool picture. Impact of the line. The line is expected to have a major impact on Saudi Arabia with its economic, cultural, and environmental benefits. The line will create over 1 million jobs and is expected to increase the country's GDP by 48 billion by 2030. I'm showing this to you not to advertise the line by Saudi Arabia, but to show that we have an enclosed system. That's the main concept. But also showing that this AI exists. This entire thing was generated in 30 seconds. Not that this is amazing, but still, how did it pull all this? I mean, there's an explanation for it all, but this is currently democratized for everybody to use. A lot of people on YouTube, they're like throwing this around like, hey, this is some great thing. Earlier, I was talking about the emotions. It's pretty mind-blowing once you start using all these things. It's the guy that programmed it would say it's not really mind-blowing. There's a way to explain it. But to the average person, I'm experiencing it like the average person's experiencing it, and they're going to say, whoa. Actually, they'll probably be excited about it. They're not going to think about the implications. Even the people making the videos on YouTube, they're just talking about how to capitalize on it. They're not really thinking, or if they're thinking about the implications, they're just saying it. They're not really thinking about what this all means. The neat part about this is, Web3 was supposed to introduce, I don't know if it was the semantic web. Actually, back then it was called Web 3.0. Now they call it Web 3. But I didn't know how they were going to introduce this AI, but now I see it. And this is just the beginning. All right, back to this slideshow. Did we finish this one? Yeah. All right, sustainable features of the line. The line is designed to be a sustainable city with features such as electric vehicles, renewable energy sources, and green spaces. The line will also implement smart technology to reduce energy consumption and create a carbon neutral environment. The economy. The line is expected to create a thriving economy with businesses ranging from technology to finance to tourism. The city will be a hub of innovation with its smart technology, renewable energy sources, and modern infrastructure. I wonder if they're going to have income inequality in the line, because it'll be preposterous if they do that. They're in a closed environment. I mean, although there should be a meritocracy for people that do more, but if they engineer since you have a closed environment, if they fully engineer the entire society, everything should flow. And that's not always a good thing. The culture of the line. The line is designed to be a hub of culture with its vibrant art scene, modern architecture, and diverse population. The city will be a place for people to come together and explore with its many green spaces, cultural activities, and recreational opportunities. The future of the line. The line is expected to be a major success with its sustainable features, vibrant economy, and diverse culture. The city will be a beacon of progress, showcasing the potential for sustainable development and creating a better future for all. So I don't know if the line is a better future for Americans, but for many people it probably would be. But the irony or the paradox is, if you took people in the third world and put them in the line, how well are they going to adapt to it? And if you took people from the first world, how well are they going to adapt to it? It's like you need an in-between kind of and those people will exist too, and that's probably who will be in the line. Anyway, concept one, AI generated this entire accurate. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's like high level, right? So didn't have to be too accurate. It just had to sound right. But it generated this right away with these pictures. That's the AI of Tome. The concept, though, is the line. The line is an enclosed environment. And if it's an enclosed environment, it could be an engineered environment, and it could be a total experiment on seeing how a population, did they say how many people were going to be in it? I think it's like 800 million. They're going to put 800 million people in this controlled environment. Now, where am I going with all this? I've recognized that there's been a lot of movies that I've seen where the main character gets told, like, they reach a certain point and then it gets revealed that they're part of some kind of a larger project. It means something to me because many times I've been part of experimental projects where I didn't know what I was being observed. And I'm sure you are too. For instance, if you're my age in school, they had things like the A team, the B team, and the C team. And they told us that it really didn't mean your grades, but it did. But then there were other times where we'd get partnered where the teacher would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. All the ones go here, all the twos go here. And I used to wonder what that was all about. If you're a teacher, could you explain it to me? Because it's tremendously strange and creepy thinking back on that. And all the other different things they did for us in school. Let me just back up real quick. I feel like a cornball that I said I had emotions seeing the AI. And I guess what I mean by it is, pardon me, I'm like, hey, man, this is the future, bro. You thought we should have been there 10 years ago anyway. Or, you think back on AI and you realize, like, hey, man, this stuff has been around. They're just letting us have it now. So part of it is kind of like, hey, that's pretty cool that we're finally starting to get into the future. Not only with the AI finally, but things like the line in Saudi Arabia. That's some new futuristic type stuff. And it seemed like we went through a period for about 15 years where, after the iPad, not too much real advanced changes have happened. I mean, there's been some things, streaming services, stuff like that, but those real game changers. The last game changer to me was the iPhone / iPad mobility, and it seemed like everything got put on pause. But now here we are. AI is back. That's cool. The line and future cities are being created finally. That's cool. The implications of it, whatever. I mean, do you want to really live in an enclosed environment? Like, think about the waste. Think about so many things that go into that, especially being the first generation. But the other side too is, once you look at these things and some of the programs I'm talking about, it's ChatGPT, Tome, Descript, and there's one where if you want to become a deep fake, it's called Synthesia. They'll actually somehow turn you into a deep fake. So you get your video of yourself deep fake with Synthesia, and then you use Descript to deep fake your voice. And in theory, you could just pretend you're somewhere for the rest of your life, I guess. I guess that's cool. I don't know. There was another AI that I saw. Yeah, and then the image AI, the art AI, also saw that there's video AI. So the amount of AI that they got. And again, if you get a developer or a programmer or a DBA guy, they'll be able to explain to you how it's actually doing this, and they'll downplay it and they'll say it's not that amazing, but it is. Or even like a machine learning guy, they're all going to downplay it and explain it programmatically how it's doing it. and then make it seem like that's okay, like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. No, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty wild. Try it out. If you haven't tried any of these, I've told a lot of people this week about ChatGPT, and only like 4 of my friends actually went and used it, and all 4 of them came back to me and said, bro, this is amazing. This is amazing. I don't even know why I'm trying to sell these things. I'm selling the idea of like, hey man, the future's finally here, and it seems like it's going to get ramped up real quick now that, when we hit that mobility, all the mobility stuff hit real quick. Things changed real quick. So now we hit that AI, things are going to change real quick into this new Web3 world, which kept hearing about Web3 when it was just cryptocurrency with NFTs. And you're like, what's going on Web3? Like, I don't see it. Well, I see it now. And wow. So for instance, in this scene here, David finds out that there's a factory of other Davids, and he gets mad and he's lashing out at it all. But then
Professor Hobby.
Yes, David, I've been waiting for you.
So it says, yeah, David, I've been waiting for you. And in all these clips, there's going to be, the character is going to get to the point and, yeah, we've been waiting for you. We've kept something from you. You should know it now, or we've been watching you. It's a repeated theme in movies now. Is it just simply, a storyline arc or a plot device? Or are they repeating? I've only shown you AI, the movie Artificial Intelligence so far, but I got plenty more to show. You'll see what I mean.
Is Blue Fairy here too?
I first heard of your Blue Fairy from Monica. What did you believe the Blue Fairy could do for you?
She would make me a real boy.
But you are a real boy.
No, I know it's from Pinocchio. Okay, you don't need to tell me. Oh, that line's it's an allusion to Pinocchio.
At least as real as I've ever made one, which by all reasonable accounts would make me your Blue Fairy.
You are not her. Dr. No told me that she would be here, the lost city in the sea at the end of the world.
That's what Dr. No needed to know to get you to come home to us.
That clip right there has a real Matrix Reloaded feel with the architect scene when, he's explaining to Neo what's going on and then Neo rejects it. So yeah, you got that there. Controlled information.
And it's the only time we intervened. The only help that we gave him.
Intervening.
To give to you.
Think about all the shows with some kind of higher
Find
power.
your way home to us. Until you were born, robots didn't dream, robots didn't desire unless we told them what to want. David, do you have any idea what a success story you've become?
Oh, that line that guy said, me and my buddies were on Fort Lauderdale Beach one time, and there was like some homeless guy, and he says, hey, you guys college kids, what are you studying? And my friend said they were studying advertising. And he said, oh, okay, well, your job is to tell people what they want because they don't know. They don't know until they're told. And it's your job to tell them what to buy. So let's see what this guy, how he phrased it. Because remember, when you watch these movies, it's not about the characters. These scenes like this is them talking directly to you, letting you know, disclosing what your reality is. So let's see how he phrases what the robot kid is.
Unless we told them what to want.
Oh, reminded.
Until you were born, robots didn't dream, robots didn't desire unless we told them what to want.
Robots didn't dream, they didn't desire unless we told them what they want. There's a lot of people that don't dream. I dream so much, but that doesn't mean I'm any better. Maybe I'm the super robot.
Do you have any idea what a success story you've become? You found a fairy tale, and inspired by love, fueled by desire, you set out on a journey to make her real, and most remarkable of all, no one taught you how. We actually lost you for a while.
I was in a 2-year program, and I was told the same thing that this guy told the kid. They said that we started with 50, and we thought we were going to get 50 of you, but we only got 1, but we're glad that we got 1. And the thing is, looking back on that project or that experiment or whatever it was, I didn't I didn't know what I know now. I almost want to go in the thing again because they were like red pilling us, but I was too young. I didn't have enough knowledge to know the severity of what they were telling us. But I'm glad that they were happy with me. I just could be so much more now, but I'm, in my 40s. I shouldn't care about that. But it's one of those, it's not really a regret. It's just a thing I wish I could do again. I don't want to do it over, but I'd like to do it again.
But when you were found again, we didn't make our presence known because our test was a simple one. Where would your self-motivated reasoning take you to the logical conclusion? The blue fairy is part of the great human flaw to wish for things that don't exist, or to the greatest single human gift, the ability to chase down our dreams. And that is something no machine has ever done until you.
All right. So this is like the nice version of Westworld season 1 when Anthony Hopkins explains that they had to create the reveries, the backstories for all the robots in order for them to be able to have something to build upon. It had to have like some kind of tragedy or backstory.
I thought I was one of a kind.
I thought I was one of a kind.
My son was one of a kind. You are the first of a kind.
First of a kind. All right, I think you get the idea of this scene. If you want to see it in its entirety, you can see the title here, Artificial Intelligence, David in the Cybertronics building scene. Now, this scene, the way his behavior was towards David reminds me of the Truman Show when, at the end. So watch how they interact here. And obviously, Truman was in an enclosed environment, like an experiment. Well, it was a reality TV show, but he was being observed.
Who are you? I am the creator of a television show that gives hope and joy and inspiration to millions.
So you've all seen the Truman Show. You know what I'm talking about. But it's that creator looking at its creation, same as the previous. Now, it could just be that allegory. It may not be any deeper than that. But watch how many times this happens. And again, maybe it's the author trying to, play God as the creator. Creating a movie, creating a book, creating a screenplay, a script. All right, so this next one I want to show you is the 13th floor, the truth scene. A lot of people haven't seen the 13th floor. You got to see it. You got to see if you've seen The Matrix and you were great with The Matrix, the 13th floor came out the same exact time, had the same color scheme. It's along those lines of like, hey, how did the 13th floor and The Matrix come out the same year? Kind of like, why did Mission to Mars and The Red Planet or Armageddon and Deep Impact, all these movies that have the same exact concept, they all seem to come out the same year. In this case, it was 13th floor. Now, this scene here is, it's called the truth scene. And there's so much going on in the scene. It's called the truth. The scene is called the truth. So it says, there is just one little flaw in your thesis. None of this is real. You pull the plug, I disappear. Let's see what we got. Let's go back to the beginning. All right. So in this part here, well, let's go back. So right here, look at this shot here. I know it just looks like some weirdo green stuff, but he gets this idea in his head that he's like, I think I'm in a simulation. I think this is an artificial environment. So he gets in his car and he just keeps driving until he gets to the end. And so he gets to here and nothing else is programmed. So it's kind of like, they always show like Super Mario on like the flat earth memes where Super Mario gets to like the end where it hasn't been programmed any further. That's what this guy experienced. Like the street was no longer programmed. Now, I remember when I saw this, I was thinking, well, I have reached the end of a street. Have you ever reached the end of a street? It's a wild thing where, the street just ends and you don't even have a dead end sign. Usually there's a dead end sign, but usually where it's a dead end, it's like in a neighborhood, right? So the street ends in a neighborhood and there's a bunch of like houses you almost imagine is a cult. Hey, why don't they have a cul-de-sac? But I'm talking like on a street where the street just ends and there's just trees. And you wonder like what lies beyond. That's kind of here. Our matrix, we live in a matrix of paved roads and city streets and interstate highways. And the funny part is it's like, wow, that was so nice. They built us all these streets and these roads. But what it's done is it's trained us to never go off the paved path. Pretty much everywhere we go, it's like we don't want to get our feet dirty. We just go where the road leads us. We don't go where the path leads us anymore. So building a interstate system was a great idea, and having streets is a great idea because it keeps people only traveling in those designated areas. But anyway, so he's here, and he could see that the reality of it starts to break down. It just becomes the graph, so the Cartesian plane.
Yeah.
Look, I can explain. I'm sorry. I need to see you. Meet me in Fuller's office.
I know the truth.
Where are you?
You could call it the end of the world.
Where are you? You could call it the end of the world. And then it shows, this is that Matrix world we live in, the cities. I'm not knocking the cities, but I'm just knocking if it's a controlled environment and we're not being informed on what all the experiment objectives are. I think that's really what it is. The issue is when something's not disclosed. What are the objectives? What's going on here? Why? What is this? That's the deal.
How many simulated worlds like this are there?
Thousands. But
Can you imagine how many simulated worlds are there, and you're told thousands?
thousands. But yours is the only one that ever created a simulation within the simulation.
Simulation within a simulation. We're living in 2023 now, so that's kind of normal. Man, when I heard this in 1999, I was just like, a simulation within a simulation? It's totally normal now, but this was it was a double whammy. First, you get the idea of being told that, there's thousands of these simulations, and it's just like, oh man, dude, I'm in one of many simulations. And again, now we live in the future. We know about quantum theory. Back then, there was no What the Bleep Do We Know movie that didn't come out yet. Quantum mechanics, it was invented, but not really, Discovery Channel had, Neil deGrasse Tyson hadn't gone wild. Michio Kaku has, it wasn't established. So hearing that there's 1,000 simulations, but this particular one created a simulation within a simulation. Closed environments, and this is the double whammy. You got the enclosed environment, and this is like the bearer of like the God person that's letting the main character in on, hey, you figured it out, and you really weren't supposed to, but hey, congrats.
Thousands. But yours is the only one that ever created a simulation within the simulation. Something that we never could have expected.
So you had to kill Fuller. I stabbed him.
But it wasn't you. It was your user. He downloaded into you.
It was your user he downloaded into you. Think of the movie Gamer didn't exist yet. There were massively multiplayer online role-playing games. Actually, it was the next year that EverQuest would come out. There was no World of Warcraft. So this is so far ahead of its time. But to the real astute person, you might say, hey, man, 13th Floor, it's not an original movie. It's based on World on a Wire, which came out in the 70s, and it was a German film. I did do a review on it. That movie really makes you think because they knew about computer networks back in the 1970s. And in this case, this is pretty amazing for the time period. Oh, yeah, and World on a Wire was based on an even older book. I can't remember when it was made, but it was Simulacrum 3 or 4. So these concepts, I've been aware of all these for a long time, but a lot of people are just starting to learn about this stuff now. And, seeing that this stuff has been around since the 20th century, which is funny to say, ought to let you know, like I started this off with talking about the artificial intelligence that we have now, but we're getting old tech. And I think the reason why we're getting the tech now it did come out at the end of 2022, is that the mobility revolution has come to an end. So what I mean, it's matured. That what they call it is it's matured. So whether you say it started in 2007 with the iPhone or 2010 with the iPad, when the iPad hit, that's really when the app thing kind of kicked in. Apps were always there for the iPhone, but like that 2010 year just felt like a big deal. And it's amazing how much time has gone by. So let's just say it's 2007 when the iPhone came out. Although I'd like to say 2008. The first iPhone, only a few had it. So we're in 2023. So 2023 minus 2008. We're going to say 2022 minus 2008. That's 14 years. It's not bad. And think of the evolution that we've had in just 14 years. Everybody's got a smartphone. Everybody knows how social media works now. There's been an entire generation now that's grown up with this as a reality. And now that everybody has tablets, everybody has smartphones. I mean, it's remarkable how much has been sold, how much the penetration to society, how many people have acquired this. One is amazing that our economic system can produce and distribute this much product, develop it, both the software and the hardware and the distribution. It's, everybody talks down upon human civilization all the time, and the degeneracy and how we don't value things, but it's pretty amazing. The just everything we got. We should appreciate humanity, and even though we're behind, like we're getting old tech and we think it's new tech, it's still incredible what we have. Now, in 14 years, we went from most people didn't know how to use computers until now everybody's got their own Facebook page. Oh, and not only do they have their own Facebook page, this was what was being studied in all these programs I was in. They were always observing how culture develops, how a society develops when you create a new world. So in one of the instances, it was when chat rooms and forums were first being released. They weren't released yet to the population. So they were using us as like a case study to see how a civilization and a culture emerges. Because now we live into an already developed social media online culture. We created that over time. You'll remember periods of this culture creation was the selfie movement, where half the population were against selfies. The other half were just snapping selfies, and they didn't care about what the haters had to say about the selfie people. So right there, right off the bat, with something so irrelevant as a selfie, it already created two camps, and it seemingly did it on its own. Now, I've often wondered, there's culture creators. Okay, so what that means is you introduce a behavior or an attitude. I learned all this in media when I was being trained for the media, where one of the terms was attitudes. We manufacture attitudes, and then the sheeple imitate the attitudes. So there's two attitudes. One attitude is, and its posture is the person, the first guy that held the phone up, or the first girl, or the guy that, smooth comes over and snaps a selfie. So you have all those postures and behaviors of snapping selfies. The fact that we even accepted this, or this became a part of society, it's not an attitude. The attitude that was manufactured was the people that are against it, right? Posturing some kind of a virtue signal to be against people that want to take a picture of themselves. I never understood why it was such a sin to want to photograph yourself. It's like, yeah, I'm taking a picture of myself because I'm the only one here to take a picture of myself. If somebody would offer to take my photograph, sure, I'd give them the phone. So I never knew why the selfie people were being ostracized. Most of the time I saw it, I was like, is this just more of Marilyn Manson, the beautiful people, da-da-da, or jealous that people are out doing things where you'd want to take a selfie, and those people really aren't having fun. They're just making themselves believe like they have a cool time by snapping. So all these are attitudes, but did those attitudes generate on their own? Or was there somebody like the people that were observing us, maybe their culture of study expanded where they're like, let's introduce behaviors. Let's introduce So the snapping the selfie is a behavior, that the hatred of the selfie is the attitude. So manufacturing attitudes and behaviors, that's what they called it. And I'm telling you these things because when I heard about it, when they're training us for this, it didn't occur to me the enormity of it all, because I didn't believe that society was engineered. And even though we were reading books like Walden 2, they were showing us like, hey, we're completely controlling society, we're manipulating psychology, and we're scientifically manipulating psychology and sociology. But to bring it back, in 14 years, and it was even less than that, where the culture was already developed, we developed an entire online culture, trolling. Think of all the words that came out, meme culture. None of this stuff really existed. I mean, yeah, there was demotivational posters and motivational posters, but the meme, all these things are cultural things that came from the social media world, and the internet world is an artificial world. It's not even a physical world. It does transcend into the physical world, but it's an artificial world, and it was a new world. That's the key, is that it's not so much that it was artificial or natural, but that it was a new world where we were welcomed into it and then observed to see how we behave. A good one, I don't know if these articles still exist, but if you want to see what I mean from the science angle, is look up the early articles on Second Life. Second Life is an online, I guess it's a role-playing game. I hope you know what Second Life is. But if you don't, it's like a 3D, it's a 3D world. It's kind of like World of Warcraft, but it's not based on a fantasy. It's based on like you create yourself, and then you're in the world. You could even get a job. You could earn money. The money in Second Life, this was the first thing that piqued my interest, was that the Linden dollar is the currency. And the Linden dollar was exchanged on like the foreign exchange, the Forex. You could actually, it was recognized as a real currency is what I'm saying. So they had a real currency, and that whole aspect was studied as well. But they were studying to see like, okay, here, you guys get this new world of Second Life. What are you going to do when you go inside of it? Like, how are people going to behave? Are people going to be polite to each other? Are people going to steal from each other? Are they going to be aggressive to each other? If they have the sex option, are they going to rape people, or are they going to have consensual? Are people going to go get a job and work an 8-hour job in Second Life? Everything that they did, real estate, how is commerce going to begin? How are people going to start trading? What are people going to do with this platform? Because you create a platform. So you create a platform, it has a rule set. The rule set is how it operates, like the things you can do and some things you can't do, what's been programmed into it. And then you don't know what the people are going to do with it. So one of the examples they gave in this like MBA program I was in, they were saying that when you invent something and then offer it to the public, you may have an intention on what you wanted the invention to be used for. But once people get their hands on it, they may use it for a completely unintended use. And so you have to think through what it is you're going to release out into the public, because once it's out there, it's kind of hard to reel it back in. You could, in some instances, you can bring it back, but, and that leads over to Cardano. Charles Hoskinson, I don't know if you follow cryptocurrency, but every now and then I check in to see what he's saying. And he's like, listen, we're creating smart contracts here that are unstoppable. And that's why they're called unstoppable, right? He's like, so once we put these unstoppable smart contracts out there, they're not stoppable. So, you guys need to have a little bit of patience to give us time. Like, you guys all think you're going to get rich quick, but you don't understand the consequences if we don't think through these unstoppable smart contracts. And I really appreciate him saying that. Whether or not he turns out to be a bad guy or a good guy, at least he said that, because it brings that concept of like, he's on the bleeding edge to create the new world that we're all going to be in. And it's frightening to see how many Americans just are not tuned in. They just are like, oh, cryptocurrency, oh, that's just a big scam. And it's like, dude, the cryptocurrency is just part of this whole thing. It's not like crypto is so much bigger than just the coins. There's smart contracts and the concept of like the DApp or the decentralized organization, the DAOs. there's just so much new stuff being created. People from other countries are taking it a lot more serious than Americans are, but this is a new digital world that's being created. But the idea is you introduce a platform, how people use it, and what happens after that, you have no control over. And so how we could tie that back is we're put onto this platform we call Earth. It's a platform. Okay. There's a large rule set to our world. There's physics engines. There's the physiology of you live here. I don't need to explain it, but we have a rule set and we have a platform, and how people choose to live in this is one thing. Oh, and that reminds me of a scene, episode 5, season 4 of Westworld, where that person goes on a killing spree, and the man in black, which is also the same guy that was in Truman Show, he's like, hey, listen, we don't have any rules here, but the rule is that we don't have any rules, which means we don't have any rules, which means I could do whatever I want to you as well. So, and I think he was kind of explaining that, we live in a civilization that has a lot of rules. So we've grown up in a civilization that's filled with rules, customs, culture. And if you can remove yourself from all that and then think of a world where there are no rules, we haven't, that's a reality for some people. And you get what I'm trying to say. Let's get back to this 13th floor.
Manipulated you.
Puppet.
A puppet doesn't have a soul.
I can't have a soul any more than Fuller.
But you do. Fuller did. That's what I never expected. We programmed this world so that no one in it could ever learn the truth, and you and Fuller did.
When I heard that line right there, I was just like, pause. I want you to hear this line again. We may listen to this so many times. No matter how many times I hear this line, I'm just like, the whole what is consciousness, what is a soul, and all that stuff. I mean, it was good that it was explored, but dear future sci-fi writers, we have plenty of that explored. We need so much other stuff explored at this point, because I'm not even sure some humans have a soul.
I can't have a soul any more than Fuller.
But you do. Fuller did. That's what I never expected. We programmed this world so that no one in it could ever learn the truth, and you and Fuller did. So that no one in it expected. We programmed this world so that no one in it could ever learn the truth. That's what I never expected. We programmed this world so that no one in it could ever learn the truth. That's what I never expected. We programmed this world so that no one in it could ever learn the truth. That's what I never expected. We programmed this world so that no one in it could ever learn the truth.
Hear it again.
That's what I never expected. We programmed this world so that no one in it could ever learn the truth. And
bro, I've been living with that line repeating in my head all day, every day for the last 24 years. It's all that's been in my mind today. It's all that's been in my mind every day since I saw this. But even before I saw this, I already had the thought, and then I saw it said. In fact, the 13th floor is the reason why I ended up writing the book Simulation Theory. Like this, in particular, this scene. And yeah, this scene right here, when I saw it, I was just like, bro. And again, we all know it. Just nobody had said it quite like this. Hear it again.
But I never expected. We programmed this world so that no one in it could ever learn the truth, and you and Fuller did.
Bro.
Don't you see what that means?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's just one little flaw in your thesis. None of this is real. You pull the plug. I disappear. And nothing I ever say, nothing I ever do, will ever matter.
In terms of a simulation, maybe. And from his perspective, sure. But I'm on a new perspective in terms of what the world is. Okay. As I've said before, I think all flat earthers, if they're not married to it, I'm not a flat earther, but I did the study. I went through the whole exercise of flat earth. And then, then you get to realm earth, and then you get to machine earth. And machine earth evolves out of being just the mechanistic universe to we're in a machine, but it's not, it's here forever. It was always here and it will always be here. And today I was watching Mike Tyson and Cat Williams. They were philosophizing about conspiracy theories. And then Mike, I think it was Mike, wanted to get into the whole, there's no such thing as time. And I see a lot of people talk about that. And, there's some spiritual reasons for that, but time is a human social construct, but it's not. I mean, it is, but it's not. We age over time. What do you call that? And Cat Williams pointed out, he's like, well, he had some way with time. And he's like, yeah, I basically lived 7 lives. Like every 7 years, my body replenishes, whatever. So I guess he's 49. He was figuring he lived 7 times. But the idea is that time exists, but time, it doesn't matter because the realm, the machine that we're in, there is no beginning and there is no end. And I don't say that poetically, like the Alpha and the Omega, and there's no the beginning and the end. It's horrifying to me to think that there was no beginning and there was no end. They point to like a Big Bang or the God creating the universe in 7 days. All these explanations. If our world has always been here and always will be here, and none of this stuff like destroying the planet and all this junk, it's all just man-made fear. And when I say man-made fear, I'm not even saying like, selling fear. It's just not real. The world is so gigantic. And if it's not a ball and if it goes on forever, man, dude.
Why don't you find my user? I'm sure he's a much better catch.
Why don't you find my user? I bet he's a much better catch. But yeah, people get pretty upset when they find out that reality is not real. It's never bothered me because I never thought reality was real. Anyway, all right, this is getting way too long. Some of the movies I was going to show you were Vanilla Sky, because there's a scene in Vanilla Sky where it all stops. Now, in Vanilla Sky, it's a little different. They're saying that he's cryogenically frozen, having a completely artificial dream world reality that he's living in. But, that could be a metaphor that we're all in this world that we control and we just don't know it. It's kind of like you always hear they want to keep you from knowing what you really are. Or your powers, they say that we don't know what our powers are and the controllers prevent us from knowing what our powers are. But let's look at this scene from Maze Runner. I'm always talking about the Maze Runner. So remember, wicked is good. So I'm going to do a whole video on the original Maze Runner movie at some point. But let's look at this. So they finally get to the end. They get beyond the door. Whereas like Truman, he opens the door and the movie ends. In Maze Runner, they actually get to the door and they go in it. They find the door and they go in, and this is what they find.
Hello. My name is Dr. Ava Page. I'm Director of Operations at the World Catastrophe Kill Zone Department.
All right, so I was also going to show you the island. This right here is metaphorical for so much. Now, this movie came out, I think, in 2014. When this came out, there was 4 movie franchises that all came out at the same time. The Maze Runner, Hunger Games, Divergent, Insurgent, Allegiant, and The Giver. And they're all about these engineered societies. And the Maze Runner case is not really an engineered society. They're stuck in a test. And who knows how long this lady was here. They find this place. Can you imagine if the Glade was, anyway, there's just so much to think about. But she's going to give this guy a false version of reality the same way the island did. So here they're saying that the sun burns up the whole world. And in the island, they say that like a nuclear war happened and going outside is contaminated. Both of them are lies. Like in the island, you could go outside. They just, in order to keep all the clones inside the building, they're told that it's contaminated outside and you have to stay inside. So think about what you guys went through in 2020, where everybody was locked inside. We were told that the boogeyman, you know what I'm talking about, was out there, and they kept us all inside. Not me. They kept most people inside listening to a fake version of reality. And they showed you in advance how they would do it. And everybody believes the TV.
If you're watching this, that means you've successfully completed the maze trials. I wish I could be there in person to congratulate you, but circumstances seem to have prevented it.
Okay, now, this has been in a couple movies that, you know, the heroes get to the end and then they get greeted with the idea of like, hey, congratulations, you were part of a big experiment. You know, the idea of being debriefed, everybody listens to like Bob Lazar, right? And even though nobody wants to be put through what Bob Lazar went through, everybody wants to have that debriefing where you get to read the government's version of what reality is. It's like, I mean, not everybody. A lot of people like living in the dark, but a lot of people like me, I just want to know what the heck's going on. Every single day, I'm like, I'm in an obstacle course. I'm in an IQ test. I'm in a prison. I want to be in Tomorrowland, bro. Tomorrowland. Contact me. I want to leave general population. I have much to offer. Although I don't know what I have to offer now that I saw your ChatGPT and all this artificial intelligence. But yeah, man, can you bring me? You had me go through all your other programs. Can I join your new program? I don't want to be in this one, please.
I'm sure by now you must all be very confused, angry, frightened.
Okay, now. Confused, angry, frightened. Imagine if they told us what this illusion is all about. I wouldn't be angry if I want the disclosure. Like I watch this and I'm like, man, I kind of wish I could open a door and get told all the answers.
I can only assure you that everything that's happened to you, everything we've done to you, it was all done for a reason. Okay,
that line right there is huge. I don't expect you to believe me. You don't have to believe me, but between when I was still in the crib as an infant, I had nonstop communication with another dimension. Sounds crazy. I don't care if you believe me or not. I know what I experienced. And one day, I think I've told the story a million times on my channel, but I'm going to tell it again. One day they said, hey, listen, we're going to cut off communication with you. You need to become a little boy and assimilate yourself to the environment. But know that we put people in place that will shape your behavior in order to shape you into the person that you need to become in order to fulfill your mission. And they said, and not all of them are going to be good people. We're going to put some bad people in place too to teach you valuable lessons, but just trust that all of it is for a greater purpose. And so this lady is giving these guys the same exact story. Now, when I make the Maze Runner movie, it's about how the entirety of Maze Runner is an allegory for the mystery of our existence. And actually, let me just, all these people are, we're going to call it born into the Glade, even though they're teenagers or whatever they are. There's a place called the Glade that's representative of our world. And every day new people show up, or every once a week, new people show up from the Wicked Corporation, and they have no memory of where they were. So what does that tell you? You know, there's people in the world now. People are born into the world every day. And when people are born into the world, they have no memory of where they come from, except John Lippy. But outside of me, most people don't remember how they got there. And what's so wild about it is that you could ask people and they won't even answer the question. And they won't even like think back. But regardless, You got the Glade, that's the world. People show up every day. People show up every day in our world. We are here on Earth, and every day new babies are born. Those are new people coming into our world with no knowledge of where they were before they got there. Now, regardless of if you believe in reincarnation or a before life, they came from somewhere, and their spirit came from somewhere. People don't even believe that there's a spirit, which is mind-blowing to me. There's definitely a body and spirit. In my opinion, other people don't believe this, but they don't want to debate it either. They're entitled to their thoughts. I'm entitled to mine. I was having communication. I was told the same exact thing this lady just told these kids. Oh, I think this lady's a little wicked. I think the people that talked to me were, I hope they were like guardian angels. I really have no choice what they are, to be honest. But they always gave me answers to questions when I had them. And then, after they gave me the little spiel, when they'd like, okay, we're going to turn off the communication now. And and you won't be able to hear us anymore, but we'll always be here. You just won't hear us. But you could always like call on us and we'll communicate in various ways. Once they turned off the communication, man, everything became, I smelled the carpet for the first time. I could hear the air conditioner for the first time, and I became dumb, so dumb. It's kind of like, it's kind of like somebody teaching you the whole way and you not taking any notes or practicing what you're being taught, and then them saying, all right, good luck on the job. And you're like, oh man, I should have practiced better. And I didn't know anything, and I was dumb, and I was at the mercy of the world. But anyway, let's get back to this.
You won't remember, but the sun has scorched our world.
You won't remember.
Billions of lives lost to fire. In time, a new generation emerged that could survive the virus. Suddenly, there was a reason to hope for a cure. But finding it would not be easy. The young would have to be tested, even sacrificed inside harsh environments where their brain activity could be studied, all in an effort to understand what makes them different. They could be studied, even sacrificed inside harsh environments where their brain activity could be studied, all in an effort to understand what makes them different.
Okay? Putting them into an environment to study them to find out what makes them different. Same thing that we heard from the artificial intelligence movie, Truman Show, a little bit different. 13th floor, studying as well. And here we are with the Maze Runner.
What makes you different? You may not realize it, but you're very important. Unfortunately, your trials have only just begun. As you'll no doubt soon discover, not everyone agrees with our methods. Progress is slow. People are scared. It may be too late for us. For me. But not for you. The outside world waits. Remember, wicked is good.
Wicked is good. And in the sequel, they find this room where a bunch of people are being stored, like they're just like the Matrix, when all the bodies were put together, just like in the island, when everybody's a body in a vat, brain in a vat. So these concepts are repeated over and over again. The idea that there's like these closed systems, people are being observed, computer programs, new platforms. So my question is, I guess, I'm so tired. I've been working all day, but it comes down to this. Well, one, I want out of the general population. I want to be in Tomorrowland, but the non-disclosure of the world that we're in. Okay. Throughout my life, I remember choosing my life in another dimension. I chose to come here voluntarily. I've actually had to, compared to everybody else, my life has been great, but I still have to work just like everybody else. And I don't want to. I want to enjoy the adventure of life and explore the world. And not so much explore it as an explorer, just I want to use my time differently. But whatever. I'm sure everybody does. We are in a closed system. They keep telling us in these movies, and we may be moving into we are moving into a new era now. Web3 has begun. These technologies are out there. I also forgot to mention Voice.ai. That's pretty amazing too. You can make your voice sound just like Rick from Rick and Morty, or the guy from Breaking Bad, or Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Homer Simpson. There's a bunch of voices in there. And it does it in real time, and it has good quality. It's not like the crappy old kind where it sounds strange. And the other part that everybody talks about is, we're about to not know what's real and what's not with deep fakes, with AI, with all of the new illusory stuff that we have out there. But what I said in those videos last year, how do we know everything we've seen up until this point is real? Take the movie Sim 1, for instance. 2002, they had created a deep fake. And the movie The Congress, where she was scanned into the system and all these fake movies were made. Transcendence, Johnny Depp did everything that I'm about to do this week to make a deep fake of myself. I'm not doing Synthesia, but I'm going to do something else, the Descript. And not only that, the reality construct that we live in is not real. And then you got to think about, there's a lot of intellectual people that find it cute as if like they're in on the joke or in on the lie, that everything is a narrative. So they've been spinning narratives. They've been shifting realities. They've been creating shared fictions, shared delusions, like all the stuff that they're doing to us right now, where they're making us all believe in opposite realities. So that's deconstruction, that's postmodernism. So there's a group of people that are actively in on this, whether or not they care how the world came to be. They're like, well, we're going to be the societal manipulators. So you got all that. So whether or not you can't tell if a deep fake is real or not, you can't tell if anything they told us is real or not. And I don't know if it was in 1984 or it was somebody that told me, they said, hey man, listen, if you want to control society, everything they believe down to the most foundational concept has to be wrong, because that's how you'll know whether or not anybody actually woke up or figured something out. So one of the most, and Orwell did say, George Orwell, author of 1984, did say, you could convince a person that the world's flat or round, and they'll believe you if you show enough phony evidence that you can concoct. And as I gave the narrative on the video I made about the crystal skulls and the dinosaurs, that once the fall of the church happened and the Reformation and the scientific revolution happened, they had to invent an entire new narrative for reality because the religious reality broke down. So they created the Big Bang Theory, or they created, how did they do it? They created evolution. In order to have evolution, or Darwin was the replacement for the church. But in order to have evolution, they had to create a 14 billion year universe with a 5 billion year old planet Earth with dinosaur bones that they buried and faked in order to create the illusion that these dinosaurs lived 100 million years ago. And then created archaeology with artifacts, the art of making up facts. And just like the guy just said in that 13th floor clip, none of this is real. And that's the other part. I remember choosing my life in another dimension, and what the hell is this if I'm from another place? Where do we go 8 hours a night when we sleep? So, welcome to the new world. Welcome to the new age. Welcome to the new age. To the new age. Welcome to the new age. I'll leave you with that, man. This video went way too long. I didn't get to all the videos, but you get the concept. To wrap these, artificial intelligence, Maze Runner, 13th Floor, Truman Show, Vanilla Sky. There was a couple other ones. Let's see what I wrote on here. The Giver and all those movies like that. May the force be with you. Leave me a comment if you got this far. Just to say hi if you want. You can say, hey, nice to see you there, John. You look a little bit tired. and I am. See ya. See you next time.